Hello and welcome to another Healthy Heart. And I thank God for Angela. And I had just asked Ange the year that she gave Mama a birthday party. Ange was my daughter-in-law, and I didn't know how to be a mother-in-law. I didn't know how to be a nothing, but whew, okay, so I probably have said thank you, but the older I get and the more pictures I look at, you bless my mama. And when you say words like knick-knack or onion, and urcher, it makes me just have the best memories. And when somebody loves your mother the way that you love your mother, and you may not have known it then, but I know it even the more, so thank you. Okay, here we go. Praise God. Okay, Ange.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you recall your first healthy heart, your heart smile? You have had the opportunity, as I've gotten to know you through the years, you've had some interesting opportunities, but something as far back that you can remember that your inside smile.
Probably would be my grandparents, my dad's mom and dad. My grandmother was, aside from my mom, one of the sweetest people on the planet, and I can recall being able to stay up there and spend the night with them and just hanging out with my grandmother and following her around and asking her questions. And she raised pigeons and Grandpa raised chickens and roosters for show.
Wow.
Just watching them, as an adult, I've been told their relationship was not that great. But as a little kid, you don't see that. It's just who they are. And I just loved talking to them, hearing about their history. My grandmother was just sweet. Like anything she could do to make you happy or make your day, she would do. And
wow.
So that's probably my earliest.
About how old were you think?
Small. 4, maybe my most early memories, 3 or 4 years old.
That's amazing, because sometimes I think we don't realize that little people have memories that they will remember at that early age, and it helps us to mature to who we are.
Yes.
That's amazing. When I met you, I thought when I got to learn you, you were learning to take blood out of Sissy's arm.
Yeah. And
that concerned me so. But through, I do, because I was like, he was happy with her poke, and she was, and they was and I was just like, oh my God, what's wrong with this child? What's wrong with this woman? What is wrong with them? But from that day, I saw your heart. You are one of the biggest servants I've ever met in my life. And when did you realize, because that the servant heart, that you had a servant heart? Because I look now, and I was reflecting last night that you were a nurse. You are a nurse. You served in the military. Who serves two? I mean, and I'm like, and then you teach. And when I've had issues and my children, you've always served. So when did you realize you had that servant heart?
So probably, again, from really little, I was always taking care of things and always concerned about other people and their feelings. Like that was from a very young age, probably sometimes too much. It's been kind of, sometimes I'm a pushover in ways, but I always tell people this story because I'm like, this describes me, who I am now and when I was a kid. But I can recall going on vacation and I left a sweater back home that I wanted, and I thought the sweater's going to be sad because I forgot the sweater.
Wow.
I was like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? But it bothered me that I might have left that sweater and the sweater be sad. Now as an adult, I don't think my sweaters get sad. But I do get very concerned if something I do or say, or even if it has nothing to do with me, if I meet someone who's struggling or suffering and it has nothing to do with me, I still feel pain for their pain. Does that make sense?
It does. I remember, and I won't go in detail, but there was a situation, you was working in a hospital, and it appeared that one group of people was not getting immediate care of another group, and I'm thinking, you're going to lose your job over that. I was just, she's gonna lose her job over that, and they're gonna do what they want to do anyway. But she's gonna, and you spoke to it, and that character has always just encouraged me when I think about you, how you're steadfast. Now, what does my oldest great grandbaby call you? Your name?
Aya.
What does that mean?
So initially, as you know, I was not thrilled to be a G mom in any way, and the whole notion of it was like, So we had initially thought, well, I have to give her something to call me. So I came up with the idea of having her call me Oma, which is German.
Oh.
I figured nobody's gonna really know that much. Most people don't know German, and then that won't sound so harsh.
I understand.
But she never really could say it, and as we'd be like, well, let's go to Oma, then eventually what came out was something like Aya. So we just kept pushing that. So Aya is what we use.
I love it.
Yeah, and now the next one also calls me Aya.
Does
so,
she?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be the only unique Aya.
I'll be the only Aya. Yeah.
How will you want them as they become adults, or when they become adults, when they think of you, what memory would you like them to have of you? Your legacy, for lack of a better word.
I hope they remember the things I teach them when I'm playing with them and teach them things. Hopefully some things not. I recently taught Esmera the saying, girls rule, boys drool. Before I realized just probably wasn't politically correct. And so she's been talking that. And she's got Hadley saying it, girls rule, boys drool. I don't even think they know what drool is. So hopefully not something like that, but things that, they can learn from me, activities that we do together and things like that.
And your kind, caring heart.
I
know they will. And I know they'll remember that, like you remember of your grandparents, your grandma, because, okay, I won't get emotional. Now, this is something that I've wanted, and I was kind of curious, and then after you agreed to allow me to interview you, with you having the opportunity, I believe, like you said, God knows what he's doing, the opportunity to raise biracial babies, and you have 2 males. How are you instructing them or preparing them for the climate that we have now? Or is there any extra information needed?
Well, so when I started that venture, I didn't know much about our history. When you grew up sort of white, rural Indiana upbringing, there's not a lot said. Mm-hmm. You may hear some innuendos or sayings that people have used or whatever that might speak to it, but for the most part, you really don't know anything about race. So I think initially I had a very pie in the sky kind of idea. Mm-hmm. It's all good. Martin Luther King had his dream, and we're all better, right? Mm-hmm. But over the years, I've learned that that's not 100% true. I do think that certainly are definitely better, but I do see, and I have witnessed things with my boys that I feel pertain to their ethnic background, and it's very difficult because on the one hand, you don't want to believe that. But on the second hand, you lived that world. People think the way they think. Yeah. So, have I prepared them differently? As you know, Cyrus has a whole different background with his neurological disorder. So a little different for him. But Zoltan is getting ready to drive on a regular basis. He's getting his license. I'm very concerned on how he presents himself to people and what they might make assumptions about, because I know that there's assumptions made about black males, and so I teach him about those things. But then I always worry about going too much. I don't want him to put a chip on his shoulder and be like, well, I might as well not try either. So it's very fine balance.
You just use discernment.
I just try, and pray a lot that he's going to be okay, and that he's a pretty good kid, and he doesn't seem to come off as up to no good, or he seems to be. I think he gives a nice presentation when he meets people, so I'm not concerned in that respect. But you just don't know. Right.
You just pray that whoever they're around will receive them as a person instead of.
Very much.
Yeah. So it's challenging.
It's very challenging.
Now, being around you for 20 plus years.
Yes, ma'am.
I have had the opportunity to see you go through a whole lot, but you continue to press. And as I said, I met you when you were learning to take blood, which was interesting. And then you finished nursing school, and you had the opportunity to raise your children for a long time as a single parent.
A very long time.
Yeah. And then I thought, how in the world is she going to continue to go to school and come out to be Dr. Angela? Not that I played you cheap, but I couldn't figure out how you were going to do it. And then I'd be darned if you didn't do it. But let me digress. Before then, I remember when you was in the military and Cyrus was walking around with your military shoes on.
Yeah.
I'm like, this young lady never stops. Does she know what no is? So then, okay, nursing the babies, and then Dr. Angela, and then I'll be darned, I see you on the Facebook in the military, in the airplane, and then you start teach. And I know it hasn't been easy, to be a professor. So how do you stay encouraged?
Well, good question. So do I ever just, so giving up is not something I ever learned to do. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't times that I lose interest in something and be like, yeah, okay, I don't really want to do that after all. It's not what I want to do. But for the most part, if I really want to do something, I mean, it's really not an option not to do it.
Really?
I just have to figure out how, with all the obstacles, I'm going to do it. So the PhD, it was kind of, I had Zoltan and he was an infant, and I needed to work some way that would give me enough money to survive with all the kids, and yet give me a shift or schedule that would be that I could put him in daycare.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the GI Bill. So I went back to school,
okay.
took student loans, took the GI Bill. Then I was able to put him in daycare and kind of just live off of that, which I'm still paying for, by the way. But I started as a master's I was going to be a nurse practitioner, and I decided immediately I was not going to like that. I did not want to be an NP. I really didn't want to spend my day diagnosing, writing prescriptions, that kind of thing. So I got interested in health disparities, the differences in care for African Americans, other minorities in our nation. And I took Pan-African Studies courses and made a master's out of that.
And you met that lady,
Ann Braden.
Yes,
So
personal friend.
So I've always been interested in things that are fair. You can ask my parents, to be like, since I was little, that's not fair. And they would always just eat at me when things weren't fair. So got really interested in the history of racism and social injustices and how that affected healthcare in our country. And then while I was taking those courses, the PhD program opened at U of L, and I'm like, well, might as well do that. So then I went to that. So it just ended up being this long kind of process. And you're right, there were days when I'm like, I just not sure I can keep pulling through this because it's a lot of work. But
and then to have 5 babies with different personalities
and different. I had at one point 3 different schools I was running people to. Yes, Naomi was at Atherton, Cyrus and Mahala were at Bick. Then one went to Highland, and then Z started preschool. I mean, it was just like everybody was in different places. It was crazy busy. But you just keep doing it. I mean, papers get done the night before they're due, and things like that. So my motto is, why do today when I can put off till tomorrow? And it's been working, so.
And that's how you stay encouraged. Just keep moving.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not due today, so why would I think about that?
Wow.
So eventually I got it done, and then I'm always telling my students, because I teach nursing students, and I'm like, you should look into the military because it's a great career field, yada yada. And so one of them one day was like, well, you love it so much, why don't you go back in?
And that's how you decided.
And I'm like, I wonder if they take me. So I called a recruiter and I said, these were the years I was in, this is my age, he's like, looked up the numbers, did some calculation. He said, yeah, you can come back. He said, you can come back.
Wow.
But they're only taking nurses in the reserves if they're willing to go to flight nursing school and be a flight nurse. And I'm like, sign me up. So here I am, and I love it.
Because you always loved those planes.
I've always loved the planes. I've always loved flying, aviation.
Wow.
I don't love war, but I do know that it is one of those things in this system that we have to deal with. And I love the fact that I get to be there to care for people in those situations. So, and with AirVac, we do a lot of humanitarian missions as well. So that makes me feel really good. It's something I can really, get into. So I do love it.
Wow, I praise God for you. I know you do remember, but I had a situation with someone close to my heart. and I think they were just trembling, detoxing or something, and I was in a state of panic. And we called you, and you said what to do, and your voice was like this, and you just talked me through it, and we made it through, and that person's still alive today. And I was like, call Angela quick! Cha, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Get some Coca-Cola. Da, 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 da. You remember that, girl?
I do, yeah.
Oh my God. So it's okay, because I keep getting. Okay, here we go. My final question, unless you have more or anything you want to share. One attribute about the Lord that makes your heart happy, or something, Jehovah, that you're holding on to. Yes.
You know, someone asked me this the other day. I had a conversation with a fellow person in the Air Force, and who does not believe in God. And I said, you know, it's interesting because I have been thinking lately about, like, I don't think much about, no, I'll say I never, but I don't give a lot of thought to after this life.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe there's another life, there's something happens afterwards and all that. But one thing that I lean so heavy on God is just managing this life, because it's so much of a struggle. And I'm in a pretty good position, you know, a decent job, 2 decent jobs.
And
you know,
a man
my kids
that
are
loves you.
I do have a man that loves me very much, and he does a whole lot for me. I don't know what I'd do without him. And, you know, so I've got it pretty good, but I still have these struggles, you know what I mean? I still have things that I have to deal with. And I think if I didn't have God and I didn't have a relationship with God, that would be very difficult. So I spend a lot of time thanking God for helping me with this, the here and now, the daily grind of this system, because this is what we got to get through.
Yes, praise God.
So that's probably that and the fact that he always comes through. And like we were talking about earlier, you pray for something, you may not always get your answer right away, and you're like, you know, but he always does come through. And sometimes you get an answer you didn't expect or you didn't necessarily want, and then you see why.
Hallelujah.
You're like, I see why you did that. Yeah.
Yes.
Like that country song, thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yes. Ooh, because if we got everything we asked for, we'd be in a pickle.
We might be.
Yeah. So thank God. Angie, I love you more than you would ever know. And I do. And I praise God that you are a mother that loves her children, no matter how many opportunities they give you to twitch.
Oh my goodness.
You continue to hold your babies and encourage them, and not only verbally, but you support them in so many other ways that well, I thank you, and I love you, and I praise God for you. And the pictures of Mama, I've got it.
That was a great party.
Oh my God, I've never seen a place like that, and I haven't seen a place like that to this day.
And it was so
much fun. It was a
fun.
mansion. What was that place?
It was a historic, it's a historic manor home for that area.
Yeah.
So it had been a mansion owned by probably slave owners at one time, and now it's the clubhouse of that Mallard Crossing apartments.
Did I ever tell you that Mama's father had a cross burned in his yard?
No.
And then for her to sit in a mansion at the age of 75 and be honored by people. Okay. Your parents, and it was like, you know. And
Zoltan was a baby. I do remember Mom and Dad came, and Deborah came.
Yes.
I think my little sister came and helped. Everybody helped. We had chicken.
It was amazing. Mama had her oxygen, and we gathered around my mama.
At the football game or something like that. And so it was like UK and U of L or whatever. So we had to get the TV on for that. But it was great.
Oh, it was. And it's a memory that I will always hold, you know. So thank you. I love you so much.
I love you too.
My God. Okay. So if this has been helpful, please share and hit me up if I can interview you. And I'm really emotional. So ta-ta from Cha-Cha.